Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GM Sports Report, your weekly podcast on all things sports, where every play counts. I'm Grant, and I'm here with my co-host Mason as we get ready to cover the latest news, headlines, and upcoming events going on in the sports world. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see all things GM Sports Report. Mason, how are you doing today, and how was your trip to New York?
I'm doing well, Grant. Hope you're doing good too. It was a great trip overall. Easy flights, everything. Pre-game stuff at MetLife Stadium was just amazing. Definitely had all the 100-year anniversary hype to it. All the fans, thought we were gonna go in and just kill the Vikings, but we all saw kind of how that happened, 28-6. But I did meet Giants NFL legend Phil Simms, NFL Ring of Honor, 1987 Super Bowl MVP, and he was just all around great guy. They had all the top 100 Giants players there at halftime, and just had a great time.
Sounds like a really cool experience. I'm glad you got to be there. For those of you who don't know, we are on Instagram and TikTok at GM Sports Report, and we put some posts out about that trip, and it was a really cool trip for him. So we're glad he got to go and experience that. Go check it out. All right. So to start out this show, we're going to start with our hottest take in the sports world right now. Mason, what is your hottest take right now?
Okay, so as last week I talked a lot about Boston College. I think Boston College has the power to be a top 10 ranked football team.
Wow. Wow.
They're
That's very,
ranked
very
they're ranked at 24 now, but I think they can compete with like the top schools. Saturday, 12:45, they play number 6 Missouri. So should support my theory if they win. But I think they're a complete football team. They have great running game, passing game at the quarterback, Castellanos, and head coach experience, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator experience. So I think that they can make it far.
very, very good take. I like it. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
This should be no surprise to you. My hottest take is doubling down on what I said last week.
Oh boy.
Baker Mayfield is a dark horse MVP candidate. I said it last week, and some people thought I was stupid when I said that. But let's look at his game one stats from week one 24 of 30, 289 yards, and 4 touchdowns, and a 37-20 win over the Commanders. Okay. Now, is it against the Commanders? Yes. But Baker Mayfield has been ramping it up since the end of the last few weeks of last season. Mm-hmm. And he's looked very impressive for about, I'd say, 5 straight weeks now.
Yep.
So I do think it's really something to look out for. I am on the higher end of Baker Mayfield, but I am doubling down on my hot take that Baker Mayfield will be a dark horse MVP candidate. Okay?
That's fair. That's completely fair.
Right.
I like Baker Mayfield a lot too. It's just MVP is kind of wild, too early in the season to see, but I like the take.
I get that. That's why it's a hot take, though.
I like the take.
All right. So the next thing we're going to do real quick is last week we went over every single week one game and we gave our predictions. We're going to go over our records of those predictions that we had. I hate to brag, but I had a 12 out of 16 record. So I was 12-4, rather, out of the 16 games. And Mason, you were 10 out of 16. Those 2 games you disagreed with me on ended up not going in your favor. So I will take week one.
They
almost did. They almost did, but they didn't. So therefore, I win. So that's how week one went. Obviously, we're not going to have enough time to go over every single game every week. So what we are going to start doing is have a graphic each week that we're going to post on Thursday mornings on Instagram and TikTok, where we give our predictions and we're going to keep track of our records throughout the season. And at the end of the season, we're going to see who overall had a better season of predicting, so to speak. So look out for that. As I said, follow the Instagram and the TikTok. All right, next thing we're going to do real quick is we're going to give our 3 takeaways from week 1 of the NFL. Mason, we'll start with you. What are your 3 biggest takeaways in week 1 of the NFL season?
All right, so as we know, I was at the Giants game. I saw the highs and lows, mainly the lows, but as pretty much every Giants fan can agree on, is we need to make a move at quarterback. I was really trying to, put all my faith into Daniel Jones, our starting quarterback. Had to make do with what we had, but at 2.87 seconds of, throwing time in the pocket, and still not able to making the correct reads, and he forced the short passes. If you're gonna force anything, at least force it downfield. So he
Right.
sat in the pocket, scrambled into a sack or scrambled into a throw out of bounds. It was tough to watch. So that's my first takeaway. Second takeaway is Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson have the potential to be as advertised. I think last night we got a little bit of a snippet of that. Obviously Aaron Rodgers has some rust to kind of shake off, being as away from the game as he was. But Garrett Wilson was looking great as always, and if they can both stay healthy, I think it can be very exciting for a lot of NFL and Jets fans. And my third and final takeaway is the Steelers' defense is legit, and T.J. Watt,
Yeah, good one.
I think that he can win Defensive Player of the Year. And
yeah, for sure.
It's too early to say now, but if he can stay consistent, keep doing what he does, he's got the Watt last name. Just he's been living up to it so far. So I think they're going to be scary this season because they pretty much won them that game.
Yeah, I think that's a very good take. Those are very good takeaways overall. So I agree with all of them. So my first one that I'm going to start out with is that Deshaun Watson contract is probably one of the worst contracts we've seen in the NFL in probably history. I mean, it's just absolutely terrible. I mean, his stats from week 1 is 24 of 45 with 169 yards. He threw the ball 45 times and can only get 169 yards. 2 interceptions, was sacked 6 times, and he lost 33-17 to Dallas. It is to Dallas, which they're a good team, but man, the big thing for me is you're throwing the ball 45 times and you can't even break 200. You can't even break 200 yards. It's just an awful contract. I mean, they should, in my opinion, I'm going back. I don't think the Browns should have ever given up on Baker Mayfield. I really don't. And by taking in this contract with all the controversy behind Deshaun Watson's name in general, with all the stuff that's going on with that, it's just a terrible contract, and it's just a bad look for the Browns. So my second takeaway is going to be the Bengals need to figure out this Jamar Chase situation, and they need to figure it out soon because losing to the Patriots, granted, the Patriots defense was phenomenal last week. I'm not taking that away from them. The Patriots, as a Patriots hater, they did a great job last week, and I was not expecting them to beat the Bengals. But that chemistry just seems off right now. There's something weird. There's a weird vibe going on with the Bengals right now, and they need to figure that out fast. They're interviewing Jamar Chase after the game. He was making some weird comments. It's just they need to figure out that whole situation soon for them to be able to start playing good again. My third takeaway is that Joe Mixon in Houston's offense has potential to be a top 5 running back. He was extremely impressive. And with the new additions of Stephon Diggs there, it gives him a really good receiver core, which makes the run game a lot more open. And we saw just that. In 30 carries, he had 159 yards and a touchdown. I mean, that's a pretty phenomenal week 1 game. And I think that it has potential to keep being like that if they keep attacking that section of the run game. I think that he had a great week, and I can see him being a top 5 running back. So that's my third takeaway. Those are both our takeaways from week 1.
Yeah.
After that, we're going to go straight into the news segment, starting with the NFL headlines. The number one thing going around right now is the Tyreek Hill situation. For those of you who don't know, I don't know how you wouldn't know by now. Tyreek Hill was seen being detained before the game, along with his teammate Calais Campbell, and it later reported that Jonnu Smith and Odell Beckham were at the situation trying to help out. I'm not going to get too deep into the outside of football side of things. I don't think that's where we should be talking about. I think the Dolphins looked a little shaky in the start of that game, and I almost wonder if that had a problem, if that caused a problem. You know what I mean? If people were rattled. They're saying Tyreek Hill came into the locker room very agitated and shaken up.
I mean, he has every right to be. Every right to be so.
So, yeah. So I just wanted to get your take on that. Do you think that has an issue for why the Dolphins kind of came out a little flat to start the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would pretty much rattle anybody in any situation, whether you're just going to work or just going to school. So if
Right.
they're going to their job, that's what they do every day is they go in and play football. And um, doing so, and on the way to your job, you get pretty much thrown on the ground. It's gonna rattle you,
Right.
and to have as
Right.
many players, I didn't know that the John Smith and Odell were involved
Yep.
as
It
well.
was later reported. Yep.
So I think just having that many guys involved in such a situation right before, week one kickoff, it can
Hours
absolutely,
before.
yeah, it can absolutely rattle a team. So yeah, I'm glad Dolphins got the win out of it, but definitely
Yeah.
had some controversy around it all, and Tyreek's still getting questioned about it, and as is all
Right.
pretty much every Dolphins player. So
Just a crazy way to kick off week one, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
So the next thing is a pretty big headline as well. Probably the second biggest headline in the NFL is that Dak Prescott is now the highest paid player in the NFL. 4 years, $240 million. Well deserved or a little weird? What do you think?
Um, I saw a lot of like memes and stuff saying Cowboys saw how Shadur played against Nebraska, and they're like, yeah, we don't want him, but
That's a good. That's
um,
good. That's good.
so I think it's kind of the same situation as Tua somewhat. I think Dak could have used this year to pretty much prove why he deserved this 4-year, $240 million contract, but um. I do think it's good for the Cowboys. If he can play straight and not get as many turnovers, I think him and CD's connection will kind of lead him in the right direction.
Right. I think I as much as people were saying that this could be Dak's last year, this could be Dak's last year, I just
Yeah.
couldn't personally see him going anywhere else other than Dallas. Do I think that price tag is worth it? Only
No.
time will tell.
Yeah.
But I just really couldn't see him going anywhere other than Dallas. So I was
Yep.
kind of expecting that to happen. I wasn't expecting it like right before week one game started, but
Yeah. Literally
it
on the
happened.
day.
So
Yeah.
yeah, on the day of. So very interesting. I thought they were going to give him a whole year. Like you said, I think it's very similar to the Tua situation. So very interesting. We'll see if that helps the Cowboys
Mhm.
as they continue their season. All right. So now we're going to go into sort of the injuries that have happened in the NFL, starting with Jordan Love. He's expected to miss 3 to 6 weeks. Do you think that this Brazil game was a whole bad idea? Do you think that this was like an injury waiting to happen for one of the teams that were involved in this game?
Um. After watching a good amount of the game, that field was not meant to withstand the wear and tear of American football. As people have said in the comments of like all the Instagram posts and stuff, it was made for soccer. That's the entirety of what it was made for. And the amount of slipping and sliding that was going on, it was only a matter of time before there was a serious injury. And it is so unfortunate that literally the second last play of the game, Jordan Love goes down. And, you know, people can say, well, was that kind of like a push? Should he have stayed out there? But if your team was down a score, you'd want your best
Yeah,
guys
you're
out
making
there
a drive to
trying
win the
to.
game.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was, I don't think it should happen again. You have all these other places that are interested in football, like England, all those guys, Germany.
Right,
Kind of stick with what you know. Don't go too
right.
far out and out of the comfort zone. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the first plays of the game. You got Saquon slipping on his first ever play
Yeah.
of in an Eagles uniform. There's just slipping all over the field. It looked like it was just a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. And the
Yep.
fact that it happened to a starting quarterback on one of the last plays of the game is just very upsetting to see. I'm sure Packers fans are very upset about that, and
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think that Brazil game was a good idea in
Nope.
general. The fact that like they have to travel all the way back from Brazil, that's a long trip, and
Like
it
9 hours.
does
Yeah.
cause some sort of fatigue. They got to get right back into practice, right back into all that stuff. And yeah, I just think it was a bad idea. I think it was a money grab, a classic money grab that the
Oh
NFL
yeah.
does
Yep.
every year. So it's unfortunate. Real quick, we're going to talk about Puka being on the IR and McCaffrey missing game one. How worried are you about these two players?
Puka. I'm more worried about Puka than I am McCaffrey.
Right.
I'm not so worried for the Rams. Obviously that's a
Mhm.
huge, weapon going down. I hope he can make a speedy recovery for the Rams offense, but they still have uh, Cooper Cup, those big guys, Matt Stafford, so they should be good over there. But Christian McCaffrey, I'm not as worried about. They said he could play. There's kind of just more of a wait and see what happens kind of thing. He was dealing with it in training camp and stuff, so not as worried about that.
Right. I'm also pretty. I feel bad for Puka.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "Man, he had a great first year. What's going to happen in his second year?" And he
Oh
starts out
yeah.
like this. It's just a shame to see. I'm a very big Puka fan. I like him as a person.
Yep.
I think he's a great dude. Uh, I'm not really worried for either team because they looked like they were able to handle
Right.
themselves pretty well
Yep.
without him. I'm not saying that like it's ideal to not have him. Obviously, you want
No,
to have
exactly.
those two players playing for you. I would be more worried for the fantasy owners of these people, like the
Oh yeah.
McCaffrey, because as far as McCaffrey goes, if that calf injury is really like something that's lingering, and they saw how good Jordan Mason played
Jordan
last night, they're
Mason.
gonna,
Yep.
take as much time as you need, McCaffrey, get better. So for
Exactly.
fantasy owners, that may be something that's kind of not ideal because they might give him a couple weeks now instead of
Hmm.
trying to rush him back because Jordan Mason looked very good last night, and
Very good.
so yeah, I'm more worried about the fantasy owners more than the teams themselves. I
Oh
mean,
my
obviously you
gosh.
don't want to have your two best players out, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, we're gonna go through some of the biggest NCAA headlines. Colorado, not shocking to me, but shocking to some people, I'm sure, lost badly to Nebraska, 28-10. After the game, Shador Sanders was being interviewed, and he was finding pretty much every excuse except himself as to why they lost the game. Whether he's right or not, that's not the issue. I just think that that's a terrible thing to say in the press conference, pretty much blaming your O line for why you lost. I feel like that's just such a cop out. What do you think about his comments after the game?
I mean, it shows immaturity on Shadur's end,
Mm-hmm.
and the only comment I saw was him saying, "Well, how many times did their quarterback get touched?"
Yeah,
Like, no, that's gonna be something these draft scouts, these NFL scouts look at, and something like that,
100%.
and personality, and not only that, it's needing to see how he handles like situations and stuff at an NFL level because he's pretty much already being looked at in a top draft spot, so he's got to act like it, and I need to
Right.
see how he fares without his dad as the coach. His whole life, his dad's pretty much
Right.
been the coach.
Right.
So
That's a great
we
point.
have we have no idea if he's gonna go to say the Raiders or something, and he doesn't get along with the coach. It could be a total bust, and it's just I don't know. I as a Giants fan, I'd like to stay as far away from him as we can. So yeah,
Right. Sanders finished the game with 23 of 38 pass completion, 244 yards, one touchdown, and one interception that was a pick six, and he was sacked 5 times. Uh, yeah, I mean, are his comments right? Yes, that O line is
right.
terrible, but to say that, you can't say that as the starting QB. Like it's just a bad look. And like you said, NFL teams are going to be seeing that. They're going to be like, I don't really want someone that throws his team under the bus. That's not a leader. So it's just it gives a bad taste in my mouth. So
Yeah.
that's all I got to really say about that. Going on to the next thing, probably the biggest actual news of the NCAA. North Illinois University pulls off a major upset going into Notre Dame and defeating them 16-14. What's your take on that? What do you think about that?
I absolutely love it. I'm me being with Boston College, rooting for them as hard as I am. I love the underdogs, and I think
Right.
everyone in college football loves to see kind of things like this happen. I love Notre Dame; they're fun to watch, but just it's something seeing about the smaller guys getting the job done, and yeah, it's just a big reason why many people love college football.
Right. Ontario Brown for them, 20 carries, 99 yards, and then two receptions, 126 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah,
Just an absolute amazing performance. And like you said, I love seeing the upsets in college football. So that's just a pretty cool story. I think that developed a great story for NIU and those players.
Mm-hmm.
Happy to see it happen,
Yep.
Well, something that is interesting about that is, did you see that Notre Dame paid $1.4 million for
Yes.
that game to
Yep.
be played? That's
Oh
pretty
my gosh.
embarrassing. Pretty
Walking in,
embarrassing.
they all getting a paycheck and coming out with a win. So
Right, right.
couldn't be more happy for them.
Right. And then last thing we're going to talk about for NCAA is that Texas went into Ann Arbor to defeat the reigning national champions in Michigan. They defeated them 31-12, so it was a pretty big deficit. Pretty impressive game for Texas. What do you think?
I think Michigan needs to figure out the quarterback situation. I don't think Warren can get the job done. I feel like they're kind of banking on Donovan Edwards to break over about 100 yards rushing a game. But you can definitely see the loss of Blake Corum, Harbaugh, and McCarthy showing how big of an impact they were to that organization.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty impressive win for Texas. I think Quinn Ewers, their quarterback, had a pretty good game.
Oh, yeah.
The defense is what really played well.
Yep.
2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble. Very good game from them. I think Texas is just kind of showing, hey, we're like a legit team.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna have a chance to make a run at this thing. So I think that they had a really impressive win, and
Yep.
it's good to see. All right, going into the MLB, we have 2 quick topics to go talk about. Of course, I had to bring this up as a Cubs fan, and you're a Yankees fan as well, so you can kind of relate to this. Is that Anthony Rizzo had made his return to Wrigley Field last week for the first time since being traded. And as a Cubs fan, this was such a heartwarming, thing to see. The crowd is going to give him a standing ovation for the rest of his life whenever he's in Chicago. That man, what he did for us, especially in the 2016 World Series, I know, me personally as a Cubs fan, he's always going to be in my Hall of Fame for Cubs players.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see. They gave him his old walk-up song when he came up the bat. The fans loved it. It was just a very wholesome series to see, and I was very happy about that. What do you think about it as a Yankees fan?
I mean, there's no like beef or remorse for anything like Chicago at all for us. So I mean, I think it was
right.
It's really on our side. It was heartwarming too, to see him kind of get that love after leaving, because he did so much more good than bad as far as leaving. So people have that kind of taste, like, oh, you left, like kind of like the LeBron thing with the Cavs, and it's just it was nothing like that. He won them a World Series in what was it, like 100 years or something. So it just
106.
It's crazy, and I love to see him, being, loved like that by Chicago.
Yeah, look, Anthony Rizzo, I just want to say real quick, he's one of the most stand-up guys in the league. Really inspiring story for those who don't know. He had pediatric cancer, had to go through all that and defeated it. And now in Chicago specifically, they said he spent his whole first off day in Chicago at this hospital for kids that have to suffer with cancer that he has donated millions of dollars to. So it's just, he's a stand-up guy. I don't think anyone in the MLB hates Anthony Rizzo. I think he's one of the most beloved players. So it was just a well-deserved moment for him. And as a Cubs fan, like I said, it's just very heartwarming to see that happen. I thought he should always be a Cub for life, but I am glad to see him go to a team like the Yankees, because I will say the Yankees have embraced him. So I'm not too mad about it, but I do think he should have been a Cub for life. So great to see. Okay, second headline going into the MLB. This is a little debate that I have for you. Who do you think is having the more historic season between the 2 top MVP candidates, Judge or Ohtani?
See, I know you think it's going to be a debate, but I don't think so. I think you think that I'm going to kind of go towards Judge, but I think Ohtani is having.
Wow, I was 100% ready.
I know.
Wow. Okay.
But as a Judge and Yankee lover, it's just, Judge. This is his 3rd time getting over 50 home runs, and it's he's kind of been here. But Ohtani, when was the last time we saw a 50-50 season as far as home runs and RBIs? Exactly. So I think that kind of just smushes the debate right there. So, that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
Look, I'm not going to take away from Judge's season. What he's doing is incredible. But as far as a historic season, this is what I was waiting to debate you on.
I know.
As far as the
waiting
Judge versus Ohtani thing is, Judge technically had a more historic season a few years ago when he broke the home run record than he's having this year. As great as he is this year, he's already had technically a more historic season.
That's what I'm saying.
So yeah, I think Ohtani, the fact that he's on pace for a 52-52 season, 52 home runs, 52 stolen bases. That's just absurd. I mean, 101 RBIs, 9.992 OPS, just absolutely incredible season. I don't care what people have to say about, oh, he's not in the field fielding. He wins you games off his hitting.
Exactly.
Like, if you told me right now I had to pick one player to start my franchise with, it's going to be Ohtani. Like 100%. And anyone who doesn't pick Ohtani is crazy in my eyes. I mean, Bobby Witt, it would be a great choice, obviously, with his youth and stuff. But it's Ohtani. It's so easily Ohtani. Anyone who says otherwise is just not being honest with themselves. So Ohtani's having the more historic year. That's about all I got to say about
it. I don't want to stress it enough. He's not pitching. He's not
exactly.
Pitching.
That's the thing. That's the thing. He's still a pitcher.
So
right. Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to get into the main segment of our show. This weekend on Saturday, September 14th, is a pretty big event. It's going to be UFC 306. It will be held in the Las Vegas Sphere, which I am very excited to see what that looks like. And it's also going to be Noche UFC, which celebrates Mexican Independence Day. So pretty cool event all around.
Yep.
We're going to get into the fights, give our predictions and all that stuff. How excited are you for UFC 306?
I'm very excited about it. I'm a huge O'Malley fan, Sean O'Malley. I love that it's happening in the Sphere, but I checked the cheapest ticket is $700.
Right.
It's like, and that's pretty much for all sports. It's getting to the point.
Were you planning on buying a ticket to Las Vegas?
No, not this time.
You're just curious.
Just looking, just looking. But yeah, it's just getting to the point to where like the big stages and where you want to see, the real fans aren't able to get them. Get the tickets to see that. So that's something to kind of go on for another time. But I am very excited for that event.
Yeah, something interesting about that, to piggyback off of that, is that I saw that they were actually losing a lot of money from the production and stuff of this event. They and also another big thing is Canelo is fighting the same night, and a lot of people are buying that pay-per-view because obviously with Mexican Independence Day happening, they're going head to head with Canelo, who's probably one of the greatest Mexican fighters of all time. So interesting to see how that plays out. But I personally am very excited to see what this Sphere production looks like, and also a huge Sean O'Malley fan. So that's all I got to say about that. We're going to go into the main card predictions. We're not going to really talk about the prelims or anything like that for the sake of time. So the first fight of that main card is going to be Ronaldo Rodriguez, who is 16-2, versus Ode Osborne, who is 12-7. This is a flyweight fight. Who do you have winning that fight?
I don't personally know too much about either fighter, but I'm just going to go off record here and say Ronaldo Rodriguez is going to win. I hope for a good fight, as I'm sure all people who are getting the pay-per-view are hoping for. But, yeah, I mean, Ronaldo Rodriguez, I think, is going to win.
I also have Ronaldo Rodriguez winning. Rodriguez has won 5 of his last 5, and he's won 13 of his last 14. So pretty impressive fighter right now.
Yeah.
Osborne in his last 5 is only 2-3. So I think with the whole theme of Mexican Independence Day, they're kind of giving Rodriguez a little bit of an easier matchup, and I think it's going to be kind of an easy win for him to kind of get the main card started, get a Mexican out there and winning. Rodriguez is a great fighter. I've seen some highlights of him. Very quick, kind of powerful. So it'll be interesting to see. He's had 7 TKOs and 5 subs in his fights. So something to watch out for. Could be a early finish. I don't think that Ode Osborne is going to have much of a chance in that fight.
No.
Okay, so going on to the second card, we are going to have Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovics. Daniel Zellhuber is 15-1, and Esteban Ribovics is 13-1. This is a lightweight fight. Who do you have winning?
So I think this is going to be a contender for fight of the night, honestly. I think they're both great fighters. But I'm gonna put over Daniel Zellhuber at 15-1. But I could be wrong with Esteban, but I think Zellhuber is gonna win.
Yeah, I also think Daniel Zellhuber is going to win this fight. They're both 4-1 in their last 5. Zellhuber is listed as a moderate favorite though at -230. He has something that I think is interesting here is he has a 3-inch height advantage. He's 6'1", and Esteban is only 5'10". He has an 8-inch reach advantage, 77 to 69. And also another thing to look out for is I think Zellhuber is going to be a lot more motivated because with winning this fight, he's going to be looking to fight a top 15 ranked opponent next. So I think that he's going to try to make a name for himself in this fight, and I think he's going to come out on top.
Yep.
Okay, this next fight is one that I am really looking forward to.
Speaking of name for themselves.
Right. We have Brian Ortega, who is 16-3, versus Diego Lopez, 25-6. This is a featherweight fight. 2 very impressive fighters. Who do you got winning this fight?
I'm going to put Lopez over Ortega. Just the way he fought against Dan Ige, that's your boy.
I love Dan Ige.
I think he has the power to beat Ortega. It'll be a great fight as well. I think we were all kind of hoping to see that in the last fight that he was supposed to fight. But yeah, it should be a great fight.
Look, I also got Diego Lopez winning. That man is a very impressive fighter. I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. I had never heard of him until the Dan Ige fight. And I'm watching this man fight, and I'm like, okay, I see what all the hype's about because they were doing a lot of hype before that fight. That dude is a dog. So I am now a huge Diego Lopez fan, although I haven't been one for as long as others, I'm sure. Look, this is his second time training for Ortega because he thought he was fighting Ortega the first time. Obviously, 4 hours before the fight, Ortega backed out. Ortega's a very impressive fighter, don't get me wrong. He's very talented. He has some very good wins under his belt. But he's a little bit he doesn't really beat the top dog fighters, and that's who Diego Lopez is looking to be after this fight. He's looking to be one of those top dogs, maybe even get a chance at a title fight. So I think Lopez is going to handle him pretty well. This is be for his 5th straight win, so we'll see what happens, but I got Diego Lopez winning. All right, so now we have the co-main event. This one's going to be very interesting. This is a trilogy fight between Alexa Grasso, the current champion at 16-3-1, versus Valentina Shevchenko, who is one of the greatest female fighters of all time at 23-4-1. Who do you got winning that fight?
I think this is going to be, a dog fight. I don't know too much about these fighters as well, but I know Valentina has the name to her as far as, being one of the greatest fighters in the division. So I think just off of history and hearing what I've heard, I'll go Valentina.
I also have Valentina winning this fight. This is the 3rd time they're fighting. As I said, Grasso pulled off the upset win in the first fight. The second fight was a draw. In both those fights, though, Valentina was up going into the championship rounds, so she kind of lost the fight in the later rounds both times. And I don't see her making that same mistake again. She's one of the greatest, as people say. And I just don't see her making the same mistakes, and I see her handling her. Look, before Shevchenko lost that fight, she was champion for 1,547 days and had 7 title defenses. So she's a very disciplined, very experienced fighter, and I see her coming to avenge herself and winning this fight.
Yep.
And yeah, that's all I really got to say about that. Now we got the main event that we are both extremely excited for. Sugar Sean O'Malley, one of the of UFC right now, biggest faces of combat sports in general, who is 18-1 versus
18-0,
Merab.
18-0.
Technically, I mean, some would say. Some would say he also has a loss, but he's facing Merab. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, but everyone knows who Merab is. He's 17-4. Who do you got winning that fight?
I have Sean O'Malley winning this fight. I think he's just a more complete fighter overall. I think they are going to be standing the whole time. Just that's how they fight from what I know. Sean, he's just amazing. He's one of the best strikers in the UFC, and it'll be exciting to watch this face off because Sean originally wanted to just go to Taporia. He didn't want to fight Merab. He just wanted the big fight, and then I'm sure Dana was like, nah, you gotta give Merab a chance. So he's giving him a chance. I hope it's just a quick and easy fight, just so we can see that big Sean next fight.
Right. For this main event, I also have Sean O'Malley winning this fight. I do think, however, Merab is a very underrated opponent. He's very talented. One thing he will have is a wrestling edge, but they said that about Aljamain Sterling, and we saw how that turned out. I do think Sean is a disciplined enough wrestler to be able to stuff the takedowns. And not only do I have Sean O'Malley winning this fight, I have it going no later than 3 rounds. I think he's going to clip him. I think Sean O'Malley is one of the most accurate punchers since Conor McGregor. He just finds the chin, very good with his hands. I just see him catching Merab and that being it. I don't see Merab standing much of a chance. I think Sean O'Malley is one of the most electric fighters in the UFC right now. So I see him catching him no later than 3 rounds. That's my prediction.
Yep.
Okay. So we have a little bit more time. What I want to do is stay in the UFC state of things. And what we're going to do is give our top 5 pound-for-pound UFC list of current fighters right now, not past time, current fighters. Who is your top 5 pound-for-pound? We're going to start from 5, work our way down to 1. Go ahead, Mason.
Dang. We're going in order. Shoot, man. I thought, okay.
We can go back and forth.
I don't have, I can't rank them, That's kind of my biggest thing.
That's your thing.
I can list names, of guys who I think is I can list the top 5, but not top 5, So,
gotcha.
Let me see. I think, does John Jones count as current?
He's current. He's going to fight. It's expected that he's fighting at least early next year, maybe even at the end of this year. So that would count as one.
Then I'll put, that'll be my number 1.
Number 1. Wow, number 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
You see, here you go. All right, you go first.
I think John. Hey, as Dana White has said in the past, John Jones is the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter of all time.
Man.
If you walk in a room, if you put 5 guys in a room and John Jones is in there, John Jones is walking out and no one else is.
You go first.
Okay, you want me to give my whole list, or you want me to just start at number 5?
I need names out there, man.
Okay, so my top 5 pound-for-pound current UFC list right now. Number 5, I'm going with Dricus du Plessis. I hate the guy. And I do think that Sean Strickland will beat him in a rematch, but I do think after that Adesanya win, he deserves to be in the top 5 pound-for-pound discussion. He's pretty impressive. I just don't like him. Number 4, this is where I'm going with John Jones, just because it's been a minute since he fought, and he really isn't in the greatest shape of his life. He's not in his prime form right now, so I'm going to put him at number 4. Obviously, probably the greatest UFC fighter of all time.
In his prime,
Not trying to be like Dana White.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah. I think John Jones is 4. I think he still deserves to be in the top 5 pound-for-pound discussion, even though he hasn't fought in a little bit. He is dealing with an injury, to be fair. Number 3, this might be a hot take. I see him slipping into this 3 position after his fight, and that is Sean O'Malley. As I said, one of the most impressive fighters right now, and he just wins in such an electric way. It looks so clean compared to some of these other fighters. He's not a guy that just goes out there and tries to win off points. He goes in there with a game plan and he executes it perfectly every single time. So for me, he's in my top 3 of pound for pound fighters. I just think he's so impressive. I think he's electric. I think he's exciting. I am a huge Sean O'Malley fan. Number 2, a lot of people have this guy at number 1, is Alex Pereira. I mean, I'm also – this is really weird because I am not the biggest Pereira fan. It's nothing to do with him as a person. I just, for whatever reason, I can't wrap my head, or I'm just not the biggest fan. I know he's great, and I know he's probably going to finish as one of the greatest of all time. But I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of him. But yeah, that's who I have at number 2. And then number 1, it's another guy I'm not too high on, and I want to see get defeated, but he is without question the number 1, and that's Islam Makhachev. 26-1, coming off a very impressive win against Dustin Poirier. He's the name to beat right now in that division. So he's the number 1 pound for pound fighter right now in the UFC, in my opinion. So that's my top 5. If that helps give you any idea of what yours should be.
Yeah, I guess so. So 1, I'll go Islam as well. Let me think. 2, man. Shoot. I don't know.
You want to put Tom Aspinall there, don't you?
No. Okay, so for the record, for the podcast, I'd like to have this out there. I am probably the biggest Tom Aspinall hater in the entirety. No, there's reasons. So the reason is I think he's a cornball. I just think he's a cornball.
Wow. We need to set up a Tom Aspinall versus Mason sparring session to see how that goes.
I'd give him the work. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't know why I have such a hard time ranking these fighters.
Just name your 5 then in no particular order.
Okay, so I'll name my favorite 5. How about that?
There you go. Favorite 5.
Does that work? Okay, so
that works.
My favorite 5 right now is Sugar Sean, Max Holloway.
Okay.
I right now, yeah, I think so.
Right, coming off a very, very impressive win.
Who's that one Russian fighter that we're excited to watch?
Shavkat.
I like him.
Yeah, I can see him being in the top 5.
I like Sean just because he's entertaining.
Right.
And like the pressers and stuff. And I think he's a good fighter. I think he just kind of needs to like release,
We need to see that Duplessis rematch.
Release it.
We need to see it.
Release it. And I do like Izzy a lot. I like him a lot. But
but he's coming off such a bad loss.
I know.
It's looking like he's looking going down.
I need to refresh my mind on UFC. Really, it feels like it's been a minute. It feels like it's been a while. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, UFC 306, I'm sure is going to be absolute fireworks. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the GM Sports Report, where every play counts. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be able to see our weekly episodes on all things sports. For additional content, check the description to see links to our Instagram and TikTok account. As I said, we've uploaded some pretty cool stuff to there, so go check it out. This is Grant and Mason, and we're signing off for now. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you, guys.